I want a beauty that will give me that glow. The kind of body that'll make them say, whoa. Get it right with the knife who slays. Beauty and the blade. Yeah. Get it right with the knife who slays. Beauty and the blade. Get it right with the knife who slays. Face and body.
Good morning, you all. I am Ashley Park, alongside with my husband, Dr. Edward Park. We are hosting Beauty and the Blade. Today, we're going to talk about some juicy information. Juicy. But something first that I want to talk about and discuss is what we're having to deal with in this day and age of the Hollywood glam, right? So I feel that a lot of our famous and both of us love movies, love artists. They start to I don't know what they're having done. Is it injectables? Because a lot of them don't come out and actually speak the truth, right? So we don't know if it's injectables, if it's, a facelift or what's going on, but they start to not look like themselves anymore.
Yeah, they start to look a little unnatural. We even have patients that kind of comment on, I do not want to look Hollywoody, right? That's a very famous thing in our practice. So
yeah. One that comes to mind is Meryl Streep. So she is completely all natural. She is the typical, my grandmother always tells me, Ashley, just age gracefully. But she is the typical aging gracefully.
Right.
Her skin, the skin, the texture, the tone, that's all in genetics, correct?
Right. And I think, it's one area, one person that I definitely applaud because of really going natural and going against the grain in this pressured society of trying to look good. And then you're on camera. So I applaud her for being natural.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with not doing plastic surgery, even though I love doing it. But there are times where I will even say no if I feel a person has such great natural genetics.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's just, we have to be careful. They're coming to us for a professional, opinion,
Correct.
And we don't want to go overboard.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's one more question, natty or not. What about moi?
Oh.
Am I
have you had
natty
any
or
work
not?
done?
We asked this in the last episode or one of the previous.
Yes, but you
We'll
didn't
give the
us
kicker.
answer.
Have I?
Have you?
Have I?
So the only thing that I know that you've had done are just facials.
I don't even think I've had a facial,
no,
honey.
You've had a hydrofacial,
Okay, one
but
time.
that was probably umpteen million years ago. But what do you feel? Do you feel that you're ready to have something done? Is there something that's bothering you?
This is what's funny to me is because you always say, and I know when you were injecting, honey, you should do Botox. And at the time I would always say, I kind of embrace the aging. And I think it's because when I first started plastic surgery, I was very new. This was in the early 2000s.
Right.
And patients would look at me and they would literally say, are you old enough to be doing this? So that's stuck in my mind.
You saying that over and over.
And I'm like, I gotta age gracefully. So
I even remember at one point you wanted to wear glasses. You wanted
to look
older. Yes, you wanted to make sure that the eye doctor said, and you wanted the thick frames. You're like, I just need to look older, honey.
And distinguished.
Yeah.
And I think I got there really quick. I'm feeling kind of old.
No, you age nicely.
But the quick answer, drum roll, I have not had anything done. No Botox, no fillers, no lifts, no surgeries, no nothing. So maybe I'm just a little hypocrite, but I will, and I definitely want to at some point. But I don't know. I just haven't felt the need.
Is there anything? Because I feel like with myself, there's something that I've been looking at for many years, and I'm like, oh, I just want to have this done.
Right.
Do you feel like that about yourself?
I do notice, it's interesting, and I'm over 50, and there's some point, and my patients say that, they say, all of a sudden I notice something, in my eyes or my neck. I have noticed that after 50, that definitely I would say the eyes and forehead, I can kind of see the aging process. So I think my first area would be to do Botox would be in order.
Right.
Wouldn't mind starting with that. I'm giving myself my own consult. And I think I would look carefully at my eyes. And the first thing down the road, long way down, would perhaps be like, lids or a lower lid rejuvenation, something like that.
So are
But-
you saying that I get to play a game of darts on you?
Meaning you're going to cut on me? I'll happily have you do it
No,
for
that
me.
you're going to start with some talk.
You will be the
need some
first
Botox.
person to do Botox on me.
All
That's
right.
for sure. But
So you guys
give
hear
it a few
that
years.
on here. I'm going to hold you to it.
all righty. So a little bit of a tangent, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go into a very hot trend today.
Super hot. You've done it. I
have.
Yes.
I have done it.
Yes.
Yeah. We're talking
So,
about Ozempic. Right? Big trend.
It's huge. I mean, I don't know about you, but I see this advertising everywhere.
Right.
And there's not just Ozempic, there's these other, Ozempic is the generic brand.
Right.
But I see it everywhere, advertised everywhere, and
magazines
so many
everywhere.
people are talking about it.
Everybody's talking about it. And so let's talk a little bit about what it is first, right? And so what Ozempic originally was designed to do is actually lower blood sugar. So it was
Right.
actually designed for diabetics. And what it does is it mimics a hormone whereby it lowers insulin,
Right.
which therefore lowers sugar. So initially prescribed for diabetics. However, it was found to also help people lose weight.
Right.
What a miracle drug. How many people in America want to lose weight? So that's where the craze became.
But talking about that, I mean, this has been around for a while, right? Is this
Mm-hmm.
a new drug or has it been on the market for quite some time?
Right. It has been around for some time, but I think the kind of side effect of having the weight loss is the newer craze that brought it so into fruition. Another interesting drug that has done that is Latisse. Ophthalmologists were using eye drops for years,
Right.
Lumigan. And then all of a sudden, people were saying, hey, I've got this beautiful side effect of long lashes. And Latisse was thus born in that
But
era.
that's what I'm kind of getting at. It's like these products have been out for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
How come Latisse or Lumigan was the original name, right? And then also Ozempic. How are people just now seeing this when
That's a
it's
good
been
question.
out for a while,
Yeah,
right?
who
It's
knows?
like-
People just jump on the bandwagon and they say, hey, I'm losing weight. And all of a sudden, people want it.
I wonder if it was like a celebrity that was getting Ozempic
Mm-hmm.
and then they pushed that out there like, oh, wow, like look how much weight she or he have lost.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about who's a good candidate and who's not, right? So I would say that there are certain risks that people need to be aware of. And one of those risks is those that have a tendency, there is a risk, a very, very small risk in studies of thyroid cancer.
Right.
And those with endocrine type issues are not great candidates for Ozempic because remember, this is a hormonal type drug. So that's very, very important that we rule that out in terms of if you're a good candidate for semaglutide
So
or
to
Ozempic.
see if they're a good candidate, they're going to get lab work. They're going to
Correct.
go through the full panel.
Correct.
to-
Yeah, I think it's very important that you go to a clinic that does look at blood work and looks at everything in a very, very holistic fashion. The other thing that if a person has, for example, is in terms of their eating habits, if they have reflux and things like that, because what it does is it essentially slows down the whole GI system.
Right.
Right? Do you know any friends that have had side effects from it?
You know, it's so crazy. For myself, I didn't have very many side effects. I mean, there were times where I was like, oh, I'm tired. And you're like, oh, it's Ozempic. But
Right.
I don't feel, it was just from being worn down. But a
From the
lot of
kids.
people I hear, they're nauseated, they're vomiting, they have massive headaches,
Right.
body soreness.
Right.
Like, you know,
Yeah. So I think that comes down to any medication when you start it, it's very important that you're dosed correctly. So there's a specific method of dosing it slowly because if you overprescribe the dosing, you can get nausea and vomiting. So we've both had it,
Right.
and you seem to do fairly well. And everyone will respond differently to medication dosages. However, for me, it took a while to get up. I think 1 milligram before I started feeling that slowness of eating and just not hungry.
Really?
But interestingly, so this was my journey. I kind of went on it, lost about 10 pounds, which was fantastic.
And how long did that take you to lose
So
that weight?
for me, it took about 2 months. So
Okay.
it's pretty quick. How about yourself?
So I lost a lot more than that.
Wow.
I
Wonder
was
Bread.
on it for like maybe 5.5, 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I went from, we were doing a weight loss challenge at
You
work.
cheated. A lot of our employees were doing it.
But
That
I
was
won.
fun.
No.
You did.
But I went from 142 down to 121.
Yeah, so 20
And that was
pounds
huge.
plus,
yeah. And it's, it's crazy how it just, I mean, when you have this drastic weight gain, to lose that weight was amazing for me because I felt like I was like pushing myself at the gym so hard. I was eating good, and there was no getting back.
So here's the question. I believe you're off of it. I'm off of it
Yeah.
as well. One of the big side effects that can happen is rebound. So
Right.
rebound weight gain. And that can happen in any medication or even a diet that you're following strictly. So my question to you is, have you had any rebound effect from being off of Ozempic?
Right. So I did not just quit it cold turkey.
Okay.
I felt that, and this is just me, I didn't read anything about this. Nobody has said anything to me about this, but I just felt like if you're gradually going up in the dose, if you just all of a sudden stop it, your body is going to freak out
Right.
and be like, what's going on, So I just felt, why don't I wean myself off of it?
That's important.
So I went lower dose, lower dose, lower dose. And actually, I haven't rebounded
So
at
you've
all.
maintained.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm going to go on a limb and say that you probably have kept the eating habits
Right.
similar to while being on Ozempic.
Right. I
And
think that's so important.
think that is the key. Because if you're going to, say, hey, I can only eat one cheeseburger, bad example, or one piece of chicken, and if you start getting your habits back to your old ways, of course you're going to gain that weight back. Rebound is a phenomenon that can happen.
But I have to say, when I was on it and I felt like there were so many events that we were going to.
That were food.
And we
Great
both
food.
love food.
We love food.
Yeah,
I can
so
eat anything.
I just couldn't eat.
That's true. That kind of sucks.
It was, I felt like I could take a bite, but it was almost like I couldn't even swallow it.
Yeah.
And we do know for a fact that the food does stay in your stomach because I had a scope.
Right.
And the doctor was like,
that's an
you haven't
important
ate in
point.
this many hours. Like, why do you have all this food still in your stomach?
So which brings up a very, very important point. This has actually been somewhat described in anesthesia journals, is if you are going to get a procedure, our anesthesiologist, Dr. Eric, has even said, we want our patients off of Ozempic for at least a week.
Right.
Because what it can do is delay that gastric emptying. And if they have food in their stomach left over for a surgery, that can potentially regurgitate during anesthesia
Right.
into the lungs. So that's an important point if you're going to go into
because
procedure.
when we are, so you guys all know, when we do have a patient that's going to be on a general anesthesia for their
Correct.
procedure, they are not to eat for, I think it's about 6 to 8 hours
6 to 8,
before
correct.
surgery.
Right.
And that's just so they have time to empty everything out. There's no thick solids in there because you can vomit during surgery.
During an intubation or extubation of the tube, Dr. Eric wants to make sure the stomach is empty so that we don't have any regurgitation. So I do want to mention something funny that you couldn't eat. I remember we had a dinner
I know
restaurant.
exactly what you're going to talk about.
We had reservations at our favorite restaurant, Providence, and we had 6 guests and everyone was on Ozempic.
No, it was
And no one
everybody
could
but
eat.
me and one of our friends.
That's true.
So,
That
and there's all these courses coming out, and I was like, oh, I'll have it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll take this. And I ate it all, like for so many people.
and here we all are. We
but you guys couldn't
not
even eat
and
one
it
bite.
was such a waste. I felt so bad. But that's what it does. I mean, it essentially it suppresses your appetite. You are just simply not hungry.
Right.
So it makes it difficult.
Is this, I feel that it's a easy out solution. You know, you're taking the easy way because yes, it's going to force your body to think that you are full.
Right.
But
It does do that.
is this healthy for you?
You know, it goes back to side effect profile and long-term effects. I think that, again, having gone through it and you've gone through it, I don't think there's any terrible side effects or long-term effects. However, it goes down to, I think, really kind of the mental psyche of just going back to that, staying in that habit of a healthy diet
Right.
and exercise. We all know that if we eat a certain amount or overindulge, we're just going to gain weight.
Right.
So if that rebound effect is very real, just try the best. It's all about discipline in the end.
Yeah, and I
feel.
think that if you're interested in trying Ozempic, I think it would be best that you meet with a nutritionist, you have a fitness coach, and they can guide you along the way.
And
because
physician.
you are going to go through a shock. Your body is going to go through a shock
Right.
once you stop it.
Yeah.
And I've heard that where people are just so hungry
Right.
after they stop.
Yeah, and the other thing is there are some. We have even one of our producers that went through some serious side effects in terms of you touched upon it. It can affect mood and energy
Right.
for sure, and that can lead to even certain depressions and such when the eating habits are so low. So.
Right.
I think it's really important to kind of look at all of that and
Yeah.
be very, very careful.
I
Make
agree.
sure a physician and or PA is monitoring you in terms of all of that.
Yeah. And then discussing about side effects, are there long-term side effects?
I don't think we know of any that I've seen or reported, so
Right.
we'll see. But so far, so good.
Yeah.
From my end. Going into talking about medications, we do have a listener email. Do you want to go ahead and read? Looks like it's from Grace.
I love, you know what, I just absolutely adore when you guys call us and leave a message or send us an email. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So here we go. Grace from Alhambra. Hi, Ashley and Dr. Park. I love your show. I was wondering if there's any medication you need to stop before plastic surgery. Thank you.
Good question.
Asking that question. So I've been in the field for many years, and I feel this was something that kind of changed with Dr. Eric. Phentermine.
Good question.
So phentermine, you used to have to be off of it 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks
It used
before
to be 2 weeks.
prior to surgery.
This is correct.
And then 2 weeks post surgery.
So what is phentermine?
What is it, doctor?
So basically what it is it is a form of, you almost want to say that it's an analogy to methamphetamine derivative.
Wow.
And what it does, there are some dangers. There was that old medication called fen-phen, and there were some cardiac risks because what phentermine does as a derivative of this is speed up the cardiovascular system and your metabolism. So by doing so, the theory is you're all amped up, even your GI system, such that you burn things very quickly.
Oh my gosh, as you're explaining this, I feel like you're like talking about like almost that
Speedy feeling.
nervous feeling.
Yeah,
Like,
and it does give a lot of patients that. So it can produce kind of speediness, anxiety. So there are some dangers with phentermine. Sometimes we'll offer it, but we want to look at a very good blood profile as well, make sure the patient's a good candidate. They can't, for example, be on another medication stimulant such as Adderall. You can have very bad side effects. So look at the medication profile. Phentermine does have an effect on cardiovascular system,
Right.
which is your heart rate and blood pressure.
so what would you suggest to patients that are a little nervous with, phentermine or Ozempic? What's another option?
Hire a trainer. Go the good old-fashioned way. I mean, we have a lot of patients that come in, as you know, for weight loss, and they want to go have a tummy tuck, for example, and we want to get them to a healthy weight, and so
Right.
do they. So there's nothing that obviously beats good old-fashioned diet and exercise.
Right.
Let's say you're going to spend $1,000 on a trainer. I mean, that I think is so well worth it, as well as a nutritionist. I think
Right.
you mentioned that. Nothing beats that in terms of that support.
Right.
Getting
But
that done.
I read this study years ago when I was trying to compete. Do
Yes.
you remember those days?
Yes, compete on stage. We need to do that.
That was so nerve-wracking. I could not get up on the stage. So I read this study that it's all about, a lot of people think, you go into the gym, you're pumping more iron, you're doing a lot of cardio, it's going
Right.
to shed off. But really, the biggest part of it, so 80% is what you put into the body, 20% is your exercise.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do they
Yeah.
say? Abs are made in the kitchen. I mean,
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, because I think, the last 3 weeks, I know you've thought about competing, I've thought about it, but I just can't do the diet part. The last
Yeah.
month, you're eating rabbit food and drying out.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Yep, you're
Very
carrying
tough.
around your food everywhere with you.
Yeah. And
You're
water.
doing cardio 2 to 3 times a week. That was tough.
Yeah.
But I think that's going a little extreme. I mean, we want to get our patients to that healthy weight loss, that
Right.
healthy glow and goal.
Glow and go.
Yes. So I think that the healthiest way to go about this would be diet and exercise.
Yeah. And it's tough to do. We all want a quick shortcut. And to be honest, that's why, I went on Ozempic and tried it, and you did as well with some success. But once again, I think that discipline is going to be, real important. Another analogy is, let's say I'm going to do a facelift, for example. You have to maintain the skin, right? We can have a beautiful rejuvenation of the face. And if we don't do hydrofacials and good skin care,
Right.
that discipline and maintenance, you're going to age quickly.
Correct. So it's just maintaining and staying on top of what is the healthiest for you. And I think that a lot of patients nowadays too, because a lot of my girlfriends, they don't go to the doctor.
Right.
They don't get there. And a lot of it, when you have this weight gain as a woman, and men too, it's the hormones, And you just start to pack on that weight where you're like, where in the world did this come from?
Right. That's a good point. As far as if someone does say, hey, I'm having so much trouble losing weight, one of the very first things, especially in women that are around anywhere from 45 to 50, 55 that are going through menopause, it's very, very important to get a hormonal panel. And so we do instruct our patients to go get their full hormonal panel, everything from thyroid, estrogen, testosterone, etc. Because if one of those hormones is imbalanced, then you're never going to lose weight. A low thyroid, for example, is a very big indicator of where you'll gain a lot of weight. You just can't burn it off.
Right.
So we want you to make sure that you're healthy from that end.
Do you feel that after being on Ozempic that it kind of helped you in your eating choices, or is your appetite all the way back?
It's funny that you said eating choices, because my choices are horrible. I think if you see my IG, we're always eating donuts and cheeseburgers and I'm stuffing my mouth. So it's not necessarily the choices. I need to make better choices in terms of the food, but what it definitely did was control the amount.
Right.
So it's interesting that people talk about different diets and things of that nature. A lot of the common things in diets, for example, are leaving out carbs. We all know that carbs are generally bad for you, and they those are common in diets, but it's all about what you put in your mouth. So the less you put in,
But
you're gonna lose weight.
I would disagree with the whole carb thing, because I feel that I can't even tell you how many different diets I have done before.
Right.
But when you cut out carbs completely, that is the fuel. You need that carb to get some energy. So your body needs that. So there are healthy carbs and healthy calories that your body
Right.
needs. And I think that's why I just strongly, I mean, I don't have a nutritionist yet, but I feel like that would be so important
Yeah, they're
for
gonna guide you.
and myself and our kids.
Right. Yeah. That's why I think in our pantry we need to throw out all those like cereals and chips
It's
and
self-discipline.
Cheetos.
You don't have to eat them.
That's like putting candy in front of a candy
like
addict.
my
I'm
big cookie jars.
Oh my gosh, that you got to see her
Midnight
cookie jars.
snack.
Yeah, I do. I chew on them all the time.
I
eat
know.
them all the time.
I know.
It's like a definite like
I
willpower
think you eat them more than our
thing.
kids do.
I probably do. So my Ozempic is getting reversed very quickly.
Yeah. So I
So-
think that both you and I both need to, and find a buddy to motivate you. I think that we need to just self-motivate,
Yeah.
you know.
I think
each
support
other.
is super key. As we're coming down to the end, I wanted to ask you real quickly, name something happy that's happened throughout the week
Something happy.
that someone may have done for you.
I would say that it's just what brings light into my life is, you know, we've been at a dinner before and, you know, somebody has mentioned that, oh, I just love, or I get annoyed that husband calls all the time. I love that throughout the day, so it's throughout my everyday, not just my week, but that you call and you just check up on me. Like, how's your day? How's your, you know?
How are you?
Yeah, and it's, to me, that's so important. And I feel that we are raising these little humans and they see everything that we do. So I feel like that's important for them to, you know, create that habit of, you know, being caring for
Yeah.
another person. How about you?
Oh, that's awfully sweet. I need to do that more often. Gosh, you know, I just like and love just loving others and people being generous, you
Yeah.
know. Also, I will just say that also forgiving people. And I know that sometimes that if I can be a little bit harsh, for example, to an employee or a child, I really try to make an effort to kind of apologize. And when
Yeah.
they forgive, I think that really forms a deeper relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that that's kind of a happy
So
moment.
just say, I'm sorry.
That's it. All right.
All right, guys, we had an amazing time with you. We can't wait to see you again on Go Country 105 every Sunday morning at 7:30.
So follow us on our internet website at faceandbody.com, faceletterandbody.com, and follow us on our IG at Face and Body Plastic Surgery, and give us a call at 1-888-900-9065, 1-888-900-9065.
And I'm Ashley, and this is my husband, Dr. Edward Park, and we are here on Beauty and the Blade, where beauty begins.
Oh, I want a beauty that will give me that glow. The kind of body that'll make them say, whoa. Get it right with the knife who slays. Beauty and the blade. Yeah, get it right with the knife who slays. Beauty and the blade. Get it right with the knife who slays. Face and body in the blade.